Now, I'm going to run through here very quickly some proposed policies for the Scottish Family Party. There's things that have been suggested by different people over recent months. And I'm going to talk through them very quickly. Then you can discuss them on your tables. So if you find I believe that colour's called lilac, the lilac paper in your pack, then that's got the policies there. And when I finish talking about them, you can just circle a yes or no to give you, your basic overall opinion of it. And there's space to write comments in as well. And you don't need to do that within the next 20 minutes or so. You could do that throughout the day over lunchtime or whenever. Then at the end of the day, if you just leave those on your table, we'll collect them up and see what you've had to say. Right, I'll talk through them all at once, and I'll hand over to you at the tables. Now, a few weeks ago, I was looking at some research about same-sex parenting. And the research was showing basically inferior outcomes for children of same-sex parents on everything. It went through one aspect of childhood after another. But then it got to academic achievement. And they did better. I thought, oh, that's strange. What's going on? I had heard that there is actually evidence that sometimes gay men in particular have a slightly higher IQ than the average. But I thought, what's going on here? Then the thought dawned on me, hang on, where did these children come from? Where did their genetic material come from? And the answer is, in a lot of cases, the genetic material was chosen from a catalogue. And people are choosing, they've got enough information, so you choose, the brain surgeon, the mathematician, the whatever, you choose someone for the donor catalogue that you think is going to give your children a bit of a boost in academic ability. I thought, I wonder if that's going on. So I looked into the issue quite a bit. And I ended up, as I learned more about it, thinking this is something we need to have a policy on. This is Scottish Family Party. So let's have a look at this. This is number one. Right, eugenics. The practice of deliberately influencing the genetic makeup of children through selecting for desired characteristics is eugenics. That's the definition. This is now taking place routinely through the process of sperm and egg donor selection from what are effectively catalogues. I've done a spot of research on this. There's an organisation called the Royal Glasgow Fertility Centre that's based in the Royal Hospital in Glasgow. And you can go on there. They will refer you basically to a sort of sperm donor catalogue based in Europe. And you can choose eye colour, freckles or not, what subject are they studying, are they musical, what hobbies do they like. You can hear them give a little interview. There'll be a little letter from them written to you. So it is a catalogue. People are choosing children from catalogues. So Paul says, we oppose this insidious process in which adults attempt to generate a child to fulfill their own wishes and reflect their own priorities. All new human life should be equally valued and welcomed, but acceptance of eugenics erodes this vital principle. We shouldn't have the idea, these are the sort of children we want to have. We don't want that sort. We want this sort. These are the ones we really value the most. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. And this is an issue I think we should be campaigning on. Aside from eugenic concerns, donor conception can leave children with a sense of incomplete identity and a yearning to discover their biological origins. We would look at ways to discourage the use of donor gametes, that's eggs and sperm, and seek to open up public debate on the topic, including the voices of those who were donor conceived. I'll put these on the bookstall, but I would recommend this book, Them Before Us. You might have seen Katie Faust on the live stream. She's in America. This book is on these topics. It's excellent. I'll put it by the bookstall. You've got Amazon or whatever these days. Another excellent book is this one by Callum McKellar, who actually spoke at our conference last year on the subject of eugenics. Again, it's excellent. I'll put it on the bookstall. You can have a look. I won't put this book on the bookstall because it's appalling. You might remember I did a video on this one. It's the What Makes a Baby. It's recommended by the Scottish Government for use in schools. And what's the formula for a baby? Egg plus sperm plus uterus. That's it. Doesn't matter whose they are. Just if you get those three ingredients together, you can make a baby, and that's just great. I mean, appalling, appalling. So that's what we need to be fighting against. Right, that's policy number one. They get shorter. Right, number two, surrogacy, where a woman gestates a child on behalf of another person or couple with the intention of handing him or her over immediately after birth. This should not be permitted. Among other problems, it brings psychological risk to the surrogate mother. can cause children to experience emotional problems relating to identity and origin, and can occasion disputes between commissioning parents and the surrogate mother. Scotland should join France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Switzerland, Austria, Norway, Finland, and Iceland in banning this practice. So, along the same lines, I think that's something we should consider. Right, moving on. We've heard from Taconi about adoption. Wasn't that excellent? This is our improved policy on adoption. Adoption should be promoted as a noble and altruistic cause, giving children what they really need. So much of the talk about adoption these days is about the right of adults to get what they want. We've got a right to have a child as well. Doesn't matter what sort of relationship you're in, or in any sort of relationship, we've got a right to a child. So it's all about what adults want. We want to put the focus where it should be, which is about giving children what they need. So steps to honour and appreciate adoptive parents could combine with a broader campaign to urge couples to consider adoption. Preference should be given to married couples, husband and wife, in fostering and adoption decisions. The goal is to give children what they need, a father and a mother. Note their preference. I mean, if a single person wants to adopt, is that better than being in a children's home? I suggest it might be in some cases, but preference to married couples. We certainly wouldn't be going down the track that the adoption agencies currently are, and that is like having stalls in gay nightclubs promoting adoption. Meanwhile, the Catholic adoption agencies that used to operate in Scotland that would prioritise married men and women, they were all shut down by the government years ago. And the last one, good parents should not be turned away from fostering or adoption because assessors disagree with their political, moral, or religious beliefs. Taconi touched on this. It's a tragedy, isn't it? Where we've got perfectly good couples ready to adopt, but the social work departments, wherever, they say no because your views are not quite in line with the political establishment. So the child's got to stay in a children's home with all the attendant ill effects of that, rather than place them with someone who they disagree with on some things. So that's that one. Right, number 4, very quickly, voting age. We would return the voting age to 18 for all elections. Younger people are very much under the influence of schools, and the school system has been used to promote a definite set of political ideals. In addition, voting at 16 has led to the politicisation of the examination system. The Labour Party wrote a letter to my son. He was a first-time voter in the last election, and the letter basically said, are you happy with your exam results? If you're not happy with your exam results, you know, maybe you've been treated unfairly by the exam system. You know, we want to look into that. So it didn't quite come out outright and say, if you got a B, vote Labour, and we'd make sure you get an A next time. It didn't quite say that, but it was pretty close. Finally, such young people are liable to be swayed by offers of free goods, such as electronic devices. I mean, if you're a 16-year-old or 15-year-old in school, offer a free laptop, that's a big deal, isn't it? That's a big deal. It's like saying, tick the SFP box and you'll get a laptop. That's pretty influential. It hasn't arrived yet, this is true. Right, number 5, this is something, it was an idea of mine ages ago. This was actually put into practice in the school where I taught. Schools should seek to involve grandparents as well as parents in school life. Special events where grandparents are hosted and entertained within the school could be held. Education would be broadened and enriched by opportunities to hear the stories and views of parents and grandparents. In society in general, I feel older generations are basically demonized. They're the ones who caused all our problems, and the way forward is we've got to get away from everything that parents and grandparents did in the past, because we've got a completely new way to do things. And I think in schools, I think bringing grandparents in particular would be mutually beneficial. Right, number 6, I only discovered the other day that assisting or encouraging suicide is not illegal in Scotland. It is in the rest of Britain. It's not in Scotland. We think it should be. Seems quite straightforward. Number 7, Belinda happened to mention this very point. We would eliminate all fees relating to the legal registration of a marriage. The state should contribute to the reasonable fees charged by wedding celebrants. So if we're going to encourage marriage, let's try and remove any possible barriers, and that would be a small step in that direction. And the last one, all school pupils should dress modestly. For example, extremely short skirts should not be permitted. I don't know about you, but if you've got a high school anywhere near, you probably see exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, it seems normal that high school girls wear clothes. If you turned up to your job, virtually any job wearing them, they'd just say, what are you doing? You can't wear that at work. And yet at school, this is allowed. So that's a very straightforward thing that should be changed. Right, I now invite you to chat amongst yourselves. I now invite you to wait a minute while I just see what Neil's going to tell me. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, just to clarify, the yes or no, that's whether or not you basically agree with this as a family party policy. Okay? If you agree with half of it and not the other half, then write in or whatever. You can write bits in. So we've got a while now. You can talk about it among yourselves at the table. You can fill in your opinions on the bits of paper. And over to you.